Gluten-free, coast to coast with Jess and Nick.
Welcome back to another episode of Gluten-free Coast to Coast. I am Nick. She's Jess.
What's up?
Today we are talking about her diagnosis story. Last episode we talked about my diagnosis story and how...
The saga.
Yeah, the saga and how, it was a long tale that really was just an accident of how they found celiac. But today we're going to talk about you, Jessica, and how you became diagnosed. But again, we are back in Nick's gluten-free kitchen.
We're baking.
What are you cooking right now?
Right now, we are cooking allergen-free chocolate chip cookies.
The big winner at the market.
Those are, they're my favorite. They're probably like the one thing I crave throughout the week. Like, I obviously love everything we make. But throughout the week, I have to like tell myself not to eat all of these chocolate chip cookies. Fun for the holidays, we do have the baking mixes available so that you can make cookies at home for the holidays. It's free of all allergens and vegans, so you don't have to worry about what anybody might be allergic to.
You just cook them up.
Yeah, so check those out.
Yeah, so let's dive right into it. So we didn't do the math, but
we didn't do the math.
It was a couple years after I was diagnosed. I was in school.
You were in high school.
No, you picked me up from college.
Oh, when I was diagnosed.
Yeah, when you were diagnosed.
Yeah.
Jess, you were living in Brookline,
yeah,
Boston, Massachusetts area, and I was going to school in Curry College in Milton, Mass. So she was picking me up to go home for Thanksgiving or Christmas.
Christmas. It was break time.
Yeah.
So
and there's more. This is my side of her story.
Kick it off.
Yeah.
It was traumatic.
So all I really remember is that for me, I'd been gluten-free for a while. You picked me up and we were going home, and the first thing I remember about this is that we stopped at a Sonic.
Yeah.
In Danvers or something like that.
Right on Route 1. I was so excited.
Yeah, you went there every time you went home, and
Yeah.
you were going home almost every weekend.
Yeah, I was waitressing at a restaurant up in Kittery, and Ryan and I had just started dating 2 months before 2 months before this date, but I moved the week after we had our first date, so timing was not on my side.
Yeah, so every weekend she was coming home and stopping at this Sonic.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Just fun facts, the Wendy's right next to Sonic on Route 1 has the best Frosties, so we made a quick transition to Wendy's post-diagnosis.
Yes.
But if you're ever driving up from Boston and you need a snack...
Yeah.
Don't go to Sonic. I mean, go to Sonic.
Yeah, there's still stuff that I could have there, and I was able to,
Right, because you were already diagnosed.
I was already diagnosed, so I remember you just got really sick from it.
Yeah.
It was like a cookie dough something or other shake, or I don't know.
Oh, yeah. It was like a peanut butter cookie dough milkshake. It was the best. I'd had it before and not gotten sick. And as you were saying that, I was trying to remember a chicken or the egg thing. Was I sick before Sonic? And I think I was. I think I would eat and I'd have stomach pain. I always describe it as it feels like there's nails in my stomach trying to get out. It's like sharp pain. And I want to say that was maybe happening. But I hadn't noticed things like the weight loss. Or I wasn't getting physically sick yet. I don't think. So yeah, this was probably early December. No, I must have gotten sick before.
I think you were...
Because when do breaks normally start? They don't start early December.
No,
it's right
17th.
before Christmas.
Yeah.
Because... So we get home from Sonic. We get home. The next day, I am violently sick.
Is this when I called Mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was all we both are getting up in the morning, right? And
yeah.
Jess is violently ill. And obviously I'm very quick on my toes. My first thing to do is just call my mom.
No, so I'll spare the graphic details, but anybody with any digestive chronic illness can just imagine that what I mean when I say violently ill. I couldn't leave where I was. Nick's sleeping. I have to yell to wake him up, and I told you to call Mom. I was
I was gonna say there wasn't much I was gonna handle there.
No. And so our mom was working, and she came home, and yeah, sort of like rode it out for a little bit, and then we realized like I wasn't going to stop being sick, so we had to go to the emergency room. I got IV fluid,
which is still a wild reaction to gluten. Like like you don't get that sick anymore.
I sure do. Well,
not that long though. You sit on the toilet for that long and
no, so that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
So my body, when I eat enough gluten, rejects it. Just sends it right back.
Yeah.
This time it didn't.
I feel like it was like a buildup of gluten, and it was just like, we're done, we can't do it.
Evacuated at all costs.
Yeah.
So when I went to the emergency room, they hooked me up to Zofran, which is my new best friend, and anti-nausea medication, and they gave me liquid, like fluids, because my hands were starting to, I don't know if atrophy is the right word, but I had just been getting so sick for so long that essentially like the blood was going to my vital organs and not my hands, so they were really tense up. Because we were on hours at this point, and so they diagnosed me with like a GI bug, and then I got sick. Yeah,
it was like Old Navy the next day.
I don't know. It wasn't the next day, because the next day my college friends came down for our annual Christmas weekend. Yeah, like literally
the next. For me too, man.
I remember it.
Try to black out.
I remember it being weird. Not being weird, but like, wow, I was just in the emergency room, like hooked up to liquids, and my friends are here now, and we're just gonna. I mean, they're the best. So, like, it was fine, but it was really weird, and so I can't remember about Old Navy, but basically, what Nick's talking about is we go to Old Navy. I'm pretty positive this is after I go to the emergency room, and we're shopping, and I felt so sick in this Old Navy, and but chronic illness, man. I'm like, it's fine, we're fine, and we just kept going to the point where I'm like checking out, and I can't even open my mouth anymore to talk because I feel so sick. We get in the car, and luckily my parents live very close to Old Navy, so were we in the parking lot?
Yeah, because we were with our parents, me and my sister were sitting in the back.
Yeah.
And I think we had just started moving. Like it was like we were like backing out of the spot, pulling out of the parking lot, and just back of the seat.
I had an English muffin for breakfast, so I can't eat gluten, as it turns out. Didn't know that yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what's cool about my diagnosis story, I mean cool in like a subjective way, is when Nick was diagnosed in 2012, they did genetic testing on me to see if I carried the gene, which I did. So I end up getting sick like 3 weekends in a row, and not only like vomiting, but I'm like curled up in a ball in physical pain. Like, my mom's a saint. She like had to sit with me for hours. Oh my gosh. But speaking of that, like in the emergency room, there's no service in York Hospital, and it's just dark because I'm like writhing in pain, and she just like sat there for hours with me while I like came back to life. I mean, we literally we had like a 5-gallon bucket that we brought with us to the emergency room. It wasn't.
I left behind?
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm useless.
No. Why would you have come? That was so bad. And I'll never forget. Like, I had on this like floor-length Ralph Lauren sweater, because that's all we could find to like get me out of the house, which like wasn't even in style then. But then I'm in my pajamas still, carrying a 5-gallon bucket, which, just to clarify, anybody who's like cringing at this story at this point, like, I didn't need a 5-gallon bucket. That's just what someone grabbed.
I'm sure Mom was like, find something for her to throw up in, and I found a 5-gallon.
You go down to the basement.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we're like bringing this into the emergency room. I'll never forget too. Like, I don't know. This sounds so dramatic, but I was in so much pain. They bring us back to the triage room, and I'd been waiting forever already, and I'm like on the ground, wrapped around my 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah.
And they're like, Miss Voigt, you're gonna need to not be on the floor. I'm like, I'm going to need some medical attention
Yeah.
soon. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And then eventually, yeah, they hooked me up. And I don't blame them. I've worked in hospitals. Like, I get it. But I'll never forget that. Like, yeah, I'm doing my best here. So I end up getting an appointment at my primary care. Just being like, yeah, I've had like a lot of vomiting, like a ton of stomach pain. It's flu season. It's December, so they make me wear a mask. And I had this like core memory of me talking about my symptoms and the doctor just like slowly pulling her mask down and being like, you don't have the flu. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I had been getting sick for a little bit. Actually, okay, so I must have been getting sick before Sonic because I remember being in my Brookline apartment.
That apartment probably just made you sick.
Oh, we wonder that sometimes. Brookline is a beautiful place, but like any managed apartment, it depends on who's managing it. So my apartment was kind of sketchy, with some environmental factors like mold. Cats. So yeah, I had eaten like some gluten-free stuff. Like I would eat like rice pasta and that would feel fine. I was eating like a ton of apples because I didn't know it was gluten and apples didn't hurt. So I would eat like a lot of apples. So yeah, I'm fast forward to the PCP. I'm at she's taking her mask down and she's like, okay, yeah, like we got to run some labs. What I say is cool that they like already had run the labs or already had done the genetic testing is they knew Nick had celiac and they knew I carried the gene and it's a genetic illness. So I, like all said and done, was diagnosed in a week.
Yeah.
So they did the full panel and that was like right before Christmas, maybe like the 22nd.
Well, I was gonna ask, were you celiac before that Christmas?
No.
You weren't diagnosed until
I was diagnosed January 5th, 2016. So maybe it was like a little more than a week. I had my my endoscopy on New Year's Eve. I also scheduled a waitress that night, which I did. And, you know, I love Ryan, but it was 1,000% because I was working with Ryan. I would not have gone in today if I had an endoscopy. I would have called out for sure. But because Dr. Hyatt, again, if you listen to Nick's episode, like he's just been the best for us. He got me in like 2 days later and did my endoscopy on New Year's Eve, and then they had to get the biopsies back. At that point, I still didn't get the labs back from my PCP, which she had done like a week before, because celiac labs take a while. So that was pretty nuts. And so to get like a formal celiac diagnosis, you need the biopsy of your intestines and you need the blood work.
Yeah.
The biopsies come back faster than the blood work, and so at this point, I'm back at school. I'm at school, like I'm in my grad program. I'm at my internship on January 5th. I was working in a nursing home, and core memory I have, talking to one of the husbands of one of the women who lived in the home, and I missed the phone call from Dr. Hyatt, and for all the love I have for Dr. Hyatt, he's also very like blasé. And I always wondered too, like, he knew that celiac wasn't news to anybody.
Yeah.
So he just left me a voicemail that was like, hey Jess, yeah, so you got celiac, you're gonna need to start eating gluten-free. Call us back to like schedule a follow-up. Have a good day. And so I found out through a voicemail that I had celiac.
Yeah, well he's a straight shooter. Like he doesn't like, that's why I always liked him when I switched from my Portland gastro to him, because he's like, yeah, we're not doing any of that junk. Right. Like he's straight, like he doesn't really spare your feelings, you know? He's like, this is what's going on and this is bad and crappy that it happened to you, but you have celiac, figure it out.
And you know what to do, Jess, so like just do it. Yeah. Which was fine, but I remember just like sitting in my office being like, okay, this is fine.
Probably with gluten in hand.
Probably. Like, I was still eating gluten, and yeah, it was weird because I remember when I got the genetic testing done, thinking like, and it was negative, I felt so guilty, and I was like, oh my god, like I just wish I had it so that Nick didn't have to have it by himself. And I got it, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like I had a really hard time, and I think a lot harder than I thought I was going to have.
Yeah, I feel like when you got it, like, because I had been, and you had been so, like, good to me with cooking for me that I was like, oh, bro, she's got this.
Yeah.
It ain't no thing. But I think the other thing is, like, growing up, like, I feel like I didn't care much for food in the first place.
Right.
Like, I cared about the convenience of food, and that's where, like, celiac still kills me now, is, like, I can't just go to McDonald's. Where you, I think, like, enjoy food.
I love food. I love bread, man.
Well, I was gonna say, like, at dinners, we would have, like, our meal and then, like, a dinner roll.
Yeah.
I would pass on the dinner roll.
I would never pass on the dinner roll.
She would not, and I think, you know, like, when those kind of things were taken from you, you're like, oh, like, I just want this. You know. So it was hard on you because, like, you knew what gluten-free was, you knew how to do it, but until, like, all gluten was taken from you, you didn't know
what that meant. And also, too, like, the difference between my experience and your experience, I was wicked sick. So when
honestly, like, I didn't feel sick. You felt sick.
And when you were diagnosed, like, you still ate gluten.
Yeah. I did, like, a slow transition, and, like, sometimes I would just eat gluten on, like, I'd eat, like, a pizza one night, you know?
Well, remember, we went to Philadelphia, like, right after you were diagnosed.
Oh, yeah, and I'm like, I'm eating
a Philly cheesesteak.
I had one, like, every day.
Yeah.
And I felt like I didn't get sick from it.
But, like, I could have never done that.
No.
Because I would have gotten sick at the Phillies stadium.
Yeah.
Which is not fun for anyone. So, like, in a sense, there was relief because I started feeling better.
Yeah. Because you felt it, like, immediately, right?
So I stopped vomiting immediately.
Yeah.
I was sick, like, with symptoms for another year. Like, I had stomach pain forever. I have, like, chronic constipation. So that, like, I ended up going to the Celiac Center in Boston because my blood work never got better.
Yeah.
So, like, I never had, like, labs that showed malabsorption or anything. Like, my vitamins and stuff were fine. But my, like, IgA labs, which is the marker for celiac, was always elevated for probably, like, a year and a half. Yeah, so they thought I had refractory sprue, which is celiac that doesn't respond to gluten-free food, which was very scary. Because essentially, no matter what you did, your body was still going to attack itself, which meant, like, those comorbid things were going to be there. So, I'm trying to think where we were. Honestly, if you're watching this, I'm winded from making these cookies.
Yeah, she's been working on this bowl of dough for a while.
And yeah, I love offering these allergen-free cookies. That they're delicious, but to get it combined is like a physical labor, and also I'm short, so I kind of like I'm on my tippy toes.
I know, leaning. I don't know where the stool is.
There's a stool, but then I'm too tall. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, you gotta find the in-between.
And this is always it, but I'm also like never telling my celiac story while making it.
We're listening to Christmas music. You lost, and by we, it's you.
So we just had to name why I like lost my train of thought because I'm just exercising over here. So yeah, I think like the hard part was, well, the easy part was that I stopped throwing up, which was like the dream. Yep. I was still like, even that summer when I was waitressing, I remember having to take Zofran like randomly because I would just get nauseous. So nausea was still there. Stomach pain was still there. I was tired. I still had joint pain, but that's a story for another day.
Well, and that's always the fun, like, not the funny thing, but like the thing that gets me with celiac is like, I never had any of those symptoms.
Nope.
And like, if I eat gluten, like, our reactions are much different.
Very much so.
Like, and it's funny too, because I think you're more sensitive. Like, cross-contamination hurts you more than it hurts me.
Yep.
So it's weird too, like, when you were like, I went through years of trying to figure out what was wrong with me. You figured out what was wrong with you immediately, but suffered the consequences for a year.
And I just started feeling better. I would say it took me probably 2 years because I started, when I went down to Boston, and then I came back, and Dr. Hyatt was like all wound up, which I was too. They had put me on 10 pills a day. and the thing is, and I say this to everybody, and advocate for yourselves, friends. Like, no one ever asked what I was eating. Like, I was in grad school, so it's not like I was eating salads. It could have been, but blech.
There's that Italian spot down the street.
Oh my gosh, I ate so much pasta. It just like wasn't well rounded. There was no fiber in my diet. But they had me on like crazy high doses of Linzess to like get my digestive system moving.
Yeah.
They had me on like 4 stool softeners a day, but then also he had me taking like prophylactic Zofran, which is like means like take it before you even need it, which is like not normal. No one. That's not typical to like be on an anti-nausea medication just daily for the sake of it. I mean, I think people who maybe are experiencing chemo or like the diagnosis of like cyclical vomiting, where they wake up and they're just vomiting. But that wasn't the answer for me. Somebody needed to be like, Jess, did you eat a green today?
Yeah.
Like, no, I've been eating straight starch forever. Like, there's a post on my Instagram from like when I first started living on my own. I was like so proud of it, and it was like haddock with crushed like crackers, pasta with melted cheese, and corn. And I was so proud that I made this. And mind you, I'm not young. I'm like 22.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is young, but I was old enough to know that that's not a well-rounded meal.
Yeah.
And I was so proud of it. But like, that's what I was eating, and sometimes still what I eat.
Oh, that is still, yeah. I'd be like, wow, look at me.
It's so delicious.
Yeah.
But no one asked. And
yeah.
so I get back to Dr. Hyatt, and he's like, no one, do you have celiac sprue? I was like, oh, no one even like, we never talked about it. And so he was pretty pissed. And he essentially told me, and I still have mixed feelings about this. He's like, Western medicine has done what it can for you. And sometimes I tell that story and people are like, oh, wow, like, how great that he was able to, like, just name that, which is so true. And I've worked with so many doctors professionally where, like, they just keep going, which, like, my Boston doctor did, until there's a made-up answer and you're on 10 pills a day and you're like, what is happening? So I appreciate him naming, like, I don't know what to do anymore, explore other options. But in that moment, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like,
you don't really want your doctor to be like, yeah, so everything that I was trained to do for years,
it's not
can't
working.
help you. Yeah.
So that was really hard for me to hear. And again, like, hindsight is 2020. I started acupuncture. I looked at my diet. I was going to the chiropractor, just like doing all this stuff. I started yoga, and then I started feeling better. To the point even where my labs went down, which I think will just always be a medical mystery. Like, eating vegetables does not lower your celiac marker, to my knowledge, and it did. Once I started eating 3 meals a day with snacks that had vegetables and had everything I needed to function, I started feeling better. So, yeah, you know, my diagnosis story is quicker. I wasn't always sick. I think a story for another day is like my Lyme disease journey that we're still on, and I think it played a huge part in why I like had the joint pain, but we didn't know like what it was, and that I think is unrelated to celiac, but the symptoms were similar. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, I went gluten-free the day January 5th, and I never looked back.
Yeah.
That's just what it was.
Well, and again, like, I think it's important that, though, we share both diagnosis stories.
Right.
Because they are different, but also, like, celiac isn't, like, I think, like a blanket disease where you're like, oh, this is how you treat it. Like, yes, gluten-free is how you treat it, but, like, you had much worse things after being diagnosed than I ever had. Like, I was diagnosed, I was like, oh, gluten-free, and, I mean, I didn't have any of those, like, medical markers where I was like, oh, this is down, or this is down. I was just like, oh, I'm gaining weight now, and when I eat gluten, I'm sick. Like, that was it, you know, but you had all these other, like, milestones and markers to get past to be like, I am now a healthy adult.
Yeah, I think that journey was a lot longer than yours afterwards. And, I mean, for a long time, like, I still have my med bag, and I will do, like, a thing on our Instagram that shows you what I carry with me, because I still carry it with me every day. I think a lot of that is anxiety. because I would get so sick, and like when I do get exposed to gluten, we talked a little bit about this in Nick's episode, but like when I get exposed to gluten, I'm sick. So I know it's gluten if within 2 hours, or if I know I ate gluten, I say I got 2 hours to get home.
Yeah.
And then, because that's usually how long it takes for my body to be like, no. And then I'm vomiting for like 4 hours, and then I'm in pain for the rest of the day, but then I'm fine. If my body doesn't reject it, I'm sick for like a week.
Yeah.
With like joint pain and things like that, and I don't get sick that way. So yeah, that took a long time to sort of figure out. But so I carried that bag with me because it's like my biggest fear to not have Zofran with me. Or like, you know, I have meds that can help me manage it. I don't need to feel that way. So like, you don't carry a med bag with you.
No, I mean, I only worry about like what I'm currently eating is gluten free. If it's not, then like, because for me, I think like my symptoms are like, oh, today they're gonna be really bad, or today like I ate a whole pizza once. And and didn't really know. Like I didn't.
There's a story behind that, but when you just said that, I was like, you just ate a whole pizza?
Yeah, it was at work, and I got served the wrong pizza. But you know, there's other times where like I don't know. Like I had a taco one time. Turns out
I had a taco one time too that got me sick.
Littered with gluten apparently, and I was at a buddy's house, just like rolled up in a ball on his couch, drinking water, and then running to the bathroom every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you got to just set up in there. What were you doing going back and forth?
I felt bad. I was at his house ruining his bathroom. So I was like, oh no, I'm fine.
I just live here now.
Yeah.
Pretending like it wasn't happening.
Yes, I was like moaning in pain on his couch.
I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. Like, yeah. I'm fine. This is fine. Just everyone plug their ears.
Yeah, well, he was great. He got me like a giant glass of water, because for me, water, I don't know if it helps, but it makes me feel better.
It has to. You got to be so dehydrated.
Yeah, I get real dehydrated.
Right.
But yeah, no. Again, I think the sharing of the diagnosis stories is important because it's not like you just go to a doctor, they tell you have it. You could go for something else. They could say you have it, and then, you know, you have to work at being gluten-free like Jess did, or work at being healthy. Like
it took a while.
She was fine with the gluten-free, but, like, I didn't have those hurdles to get over like she did, so...
Right, so, you know, when we were talking to our mom about filming this one, she was like, make sure you talk about the importance of letting providers know if you have somebody in your family with celiac.
Yeah.
Like, family history is so important because it really sped up my process. I think that's an important takeaway from our story.
Yeah, and like both of our parents carried the gene, right?
Yeah.
So really at any point they could get celiac.
Yeah.
Which I don't think ever crosses their mind. They're pretty low-key people. Like,
I'm sure it does, but like they're not symptomatic of it.
No, like they'll, you know, but knowing that they have it too, like if a family member like my mom's sister were to get it, like I wouldn't be surprised because that means they had it.
Somebody does.
Yeah, they got the gene from someone else too.
Right.
So yeah, I think, you know, it's important to know who in your family has it, if they have it, and once someone in your family does get it, get tested for the gene, and if you can carry it, if you are a carrier, because it speeds up the process when you start feeling like crap.
Yeah. Yep. And
so that you
start doing what you need to do.
So you don't have my journey.
Yes.
And hopefully not have Jess's fully.
Yes. But if it is, reach out because we've got you.
Yeah, we got all
You're
the resources.
Not alone.
We've been through both sides of it, and
yeah, for sure.
Jess too, actually, good segue here, has written a book about the gluten-free process. So Jess, tell us what that's all about.
Yeah, so I just wrote a guided journal. So if you don't know, I'm also a licensed therapist, and I basically compiled all of this tools and theories that I offer in session with clients. So I don't think everybody who's ever diagnosed with celiac needs outpatient therapy. Some do. I did, and that was really helpful. But I think some people too just need some ideas about what to do, and it feels overwhelming. So this journal, at this point, does not have like education about celiac or anything like that. It's strictly like mental health tools. It's focused on celiac, but they are tools I use for everybody, so definitely check them out. It's split up into sections, and so there's different tools for everybody in there. So yeah, just sort of something I'm excited to be offering.
Yeah.
For the people who maybe don't want therapy yet, are not ready for it, or don't feel like they need it, but just want to build up their toolbox a little bit.
Yeah, and again, it's good to know once you're diagnosed what things to look out for, what you're going through, and how to get through it. So.
Yeah. Yep. And that's normal to feel freaked out. I mean,
yeah,
I was pretty freaked out, even though I knew it and I'd been through it with you.
Yeah, like I was thinking, you can think you're ready for it until
you're doing it.
Yeah, until you're doing it, and you're like, I don't want to do this at all.
Yeah, well, and I thought I understood. Like, I'd get so mad at you when you wouldn't advocate for yourself, and I would light places on fire, metaphorically.
Yeah.
To advocate for you, and then it was my turn. I'm like, oh, this is my nightmare.
Yeah.
I hate this.
Yeah.
So it's different when you're living it, and you're not alone in it.
Yeah. So I think that wraps up this episode
Sure does.
of Jess's diagnosis. We'll be back, I'm sure, to talk about all kinds of good...
all sorts of things.
Oh, yeah, gluten-free. I mean, Jess has really got this gluten-free kitchen going. She's got all kinds of... you can find Nick's gluten-free kitchen products all over the Seacoast now.
Yeah, we're really working on becoming more accessible. Our website and Instagram are definitely the best places to find out where we are, where you can buy from us directly at markets. Working on getting into some other places. And then we are working on shipping. Some of our stuff is shippable. Not everything because shelf life and such. But yeah, definitely check us out. We got a lot going on and we're really excited.
Yeah. Nick's Gluten-Free Kitchen on Instagram.
Yes. Oh, Nick's GF Kitchen on Instagram.
Nick's GF Kitchen.
And then you can get this podcast and all of our other podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, on our website.
And YouTube.
And YouTube. You can watch me. You can see why I got winded.
Yeah, see what she's doing now with the cookie dough.
Yes.
I have no clue.
It's a lot of physical work.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, check us out. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.